Hi, and welcome to Be Inspired. I am your host, Kayla Coley, and this space has been created to inspire entrepreneurs, leaders, and business owners to rebuild, pivot, and establish their big dreams in 2020. So today I have the pleasure to speak with David Villa. David is the founder and CEO of IPD Agency, a marketing, media, and training firm that works with companies of all sizes, industries across the US. He is a published motivational speaker, best-selling author, and Forbes and U Version contributor. Welcome, David, to my Be Inspired. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you, Kayla.
Good. Do you have anything else to add from, what I said about you or?
You made me look a lot better, and so I wish I could. I wish you could actually travel with me and do everything and just introduce me. I'm feeling pretty good right now.
I thought it was great. I was like, oh, this guy's pretty awesome. I'm sure you're going to inspire all our viewers today. So thank you for taking the time to speak with us.
No, thank you for
So
having me.
you're welcome. Now, I was reading a little bit about you. I saw that you had a passion to see individuals unlock their God-given potential.
Mhm.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as somebody who is a person of faith, I think it's very important, and even somebody probably that isn't. It's important to your why or your it. Some call it a reason, or your purpose. It has to be established. Or sometimes we feel like, as business individuals, just we're going about aimlessly. And I did that as a professional for a lot of years, thinking that maybe just the next dollar or the next account or what have you is the purpose, and that's never enough. And it was only when I found out that I really wanted to see people succeed, and I wanted to see them overcome the challenges that I overcame in my life, that I really established my purpose. And so when I did that, it all made sense. It all came together. And the byproduct of that is money. The byproduct is business or success or what have you. The things that we want to, we're not obviously in business to not make a profit.
Mhm.
And so those types of things happen after we learn how to serve people. That's my experience. So I think that's where it came from. Somebody told me one time, money is attached to people. And so you touch people, touch their heart, serve them, love them, care about them. And then, they'll spend money with you if you have a product that's worth selling.
That is very true. I have to agree with you on that. And I appreciate you sharing that information with us. Now, I know that currently we've all suffered a pandemic. Has your business been affected by it?
Yes, it's been a crazy year. Matter of fact, I just did my podcast this morning, one of my podcasts, and I said something that is kind of maybe comical, regarding the season, which is not a comical season. But I
Right.
said this new year, we're going to stay up to not necessarily see the new year in, but make sure this one leaves. It's crazy year, just so many different types of distractions. But, so was it affected? Of course. I think anyone who would say that their business wasn't affected would be completely, wrong.
Right.
However, we've broken records, so at the same time, and again, as a person of faith, I believe, that I believe in favor, I believe in blessing, I believe in walking in that. So number one, I completely 100% am not that smart that, that I or my team had, the magic answer, as opposed to someone else in the world other than, him. So
Yes.
number one. But of course it was affected. And, something, that phrase that really, I felt like that God gave me early on, and something I kind of honed in on, and I started teaching our team, and we have close to 60 people that work here. We kept everyone. Matter of fact, we've added about 6 or 7 people in the last 2 months.
Wow.
And one of the things we kind of honed in early on was a phrase that, we've all heard, but it really just came to me one day, and that's turning on a dime. Like we use that phrase, to move quicker, to be agile. And so God really showed me, that he was preparing us with some products that we started over a year ago that were kind of an ancillary product, kind of behind the scenes, to prepare us for this season that he only knew what was coming. And so we quickly, through just listening and kind of being, flexible, made adjustments on the dime. and had the result has been just a season of blessing in many ways. But again, I know of companies that did not experience that. They went through a lot of turmoil, still going through that.
Right.
And and so I do talk to a lot of those companies and spend a lot of time, talking to and encouraging people that felt that didn't really, experience positive things during the season.
Yeah. I mean, it's I think that, like you said, people of faith tend to, if you're really listening to God, God is kind of helping you maneuver through this pandemic, even before it hit. I know, not in a professional sense, but even just in my faith sense, God had a team of us begin to just pray over the world, and we didn't even understand why we were praying, but God just said, you know what, prayer warriors come together. And we just began to pray. And then before we know it, this pandemic hit. And it's just like, God had already his soldiers prepared. So it's pretty awesome. Listen to the Lord. He would definitely guide you. That's for sure.
That's right. And I don't think, Kayla, that's even, it's funny because one of my favorite stories, business stories, I guess, in the Bible, we all have like personal things, but business story, something that God really showed me years and years ago. The story of Solomon. And, and this is literally years ago, where I began to really just delve into this. And one of the things that inspires me about it, Solomon, came to a place where God asked him, it was kind of like we like that Disney movie, Aladdin, the genie, it was kind of a genie experience in a sense. Like that's the only time in the Bible that I know of where God said, hey, to someone, ask me anything that you want, anything, and I'll give it to you. And so Solomon, asked for wisdom. And God said, because you asked for wisdom and you didn't ask for riches, you didn't ask for fame, I'm going to give you wisdom, riches, and fame. And so God gave him all of the above. And, and then later on, after he started to, experience just favor and blessing, it said that rulers, kings, which represent today's business owners, of the world, came to him and they paid him to say, how are you doing this?
Right.
And, I really feel like that God's propping the kingdom, businesses, the kingdom business owners, the people of faith that are really in this business. I believe he's propping them up in this season to speak to a world and give them something that Harvard can't give them, to give them something that, Wall Street can't give them, and that is what we know. And it's, and I'm really excited about this season for that reason.
I am too, to be honest. And I'm excited for Dream That Big and what we've all been able to come together and produce in this season. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. And I know you had mentioned, you talked to a lot of business owners, that were affected. So what would you say to the business owner that is currently being affected and is ready to quit?
Yeah. It's funny because I use a lot of the way our social media team works here. And is that, something to come to our heart or our mind, through everyday life circumstances. And we'll just say something or God or speak to us and we'll put it out there. So I tweeted something this morning, my social media team did, that just said, you know what, I threw in the towel and God threw it back at me and said, wipe your face, you're almost there. And
I love it.
And so that question is perfect where what was already on my heart this morning, because the reality is that's real. I mean, that's a straight up fact that there are people that want to quit. And, and so there's not one blanket answer other than, I think that this is the time to be, I believe that, God never allows, something to die, meaning, like a business or possibly an opportunity without having something better that he's ready to bring into your life if we trust him. He never wants us to go backward. Right. And so I would encourage someone to a couple of things. If it's not that situation, but you're just struggling, to hold on and really, pour into God more than ever. And say, God, show me, give me wisdom, just what Solomon did, because we're not, we're no matter, there really is no guru out there, somebody in the world that's the person I'm running from. When somebody of the world begins to say, I have all the answers, I'm done, I'm out,
Right,
I don't want to talk to that person because I don't. And so ask God for wisdom. And if you're the person that, things maybe the business has gone away, or you're at the place where you don't see it turning around, and maybe you're at peace with that, but you just don't know what to do, I would encourage you to get to dive into your creativity, because there are opportunities right now, if you are an entrepreneur, a business owner, failure comes with the territory. I
Right.
mean, I'm 48 years old, and I'm where I'm at today because I've just failed miserably and just didn't give up.
Yeah, I love it.
It's hard to beat somebody that doesn't quit. If you don't quit, you're guaranteed to make it. That's
Yeah.
just the fact. And so I just would say, maybe look, what else is there? What other opportunity? And we could be missing those because we're grieving so hard or much on this thing that went away and we can't get over it. And so there's a couple of things like that. But I would just speak encouragement and say, God's not finished with you yet. And there are people that need to hear your story. And, as far as, because look, let's face it, a lot of times we're talking about money or, our livelihood when it comes to that. And I would say, I believe there are some opportunities where God can help you monetize your story and what it is that you've gone through to touch someone else's life. And so that's what I would tell them on a kind of a flyover level, but of course there's like a lot of, I think a lot of different scenarios and situations that might require some more detail, but.
Well, those were some really good nuggets there. So I'm sure that I took it in. So I'm sure that there's other people that have taken it in as well. And I love what you says, just like not giving up, just continue no matter what the obstacle is. And that's pretty much my motto. It's like, it doesn't matter how many times I fail. Let's just get up. Let's do this again. We got this.
Yes.
So I love it. So now that you had mentioned that, where in your journey have you felt like giving up, and what did you do at that time?
Today, you mean? Like what time today?
Well,
it's big and small. Like, big, where I've in past business experience, even in this company, we've been in business for about 20 years, almost 20 years roughly as this company. Since 2004, so 16 years. And, in this business financially in the past, there were times where, there was a mountain where you didn't know how you were going to do it. And I remember in 2008, we were doing probably $13 million a year in business. So we thought we had arrived, right? Yeah. And I had about $600,000 in business, and individuals, 8 people walk out of the door the same day, top producers, just mass exodus. And, I felt like quitting that day, but then there's smaller situations where, as people sometimes will look at you or me, or they look at someone that's experienced success, and they go, man, I just wish I were there, or I had that scenario, or had what they had, or whatever. But with the phrase in church, with new levels come new devils, so to speak. Yeah. Well, there's also new challenges that are just different. So when you're, we don't have money issues now, but we, so many personnel issues and things you run into and challenges that are always thrown up. And so sometimes I think the misnomer is somebody would think that someone like me or someone like you, we never not want to get out of bed. Well, I want to not get out of bed sometime,
Yeah, for sure.
And, something that maybe might help someone, if you don't need to feel it to get up. Meaning, you're laying in bed and sometimes you go, I'm waiting till I feel like it to get up, to get at my day. Well, sometimes you may never get up if you wait on how you feel. We have to, our feelings, our emotions don't follow our feelings. Our feelings follow our motion, not emotion. So put your left foot down, put your right foot down, get up, make yourself regardless of how you feel. And then your attitude and your feelings, my experience is they change as you begin to go about the day. And so, I want to quit a lot, because it's frustrating, or just typically centered, Kayla, is typically centered around people. People right. Are a blessing, and then people, stink sometimes. It's so you get frustrated and discouraged, and you just want to kind of give up on what you're doing. It happens all the time. So I think you realize it's going to happen. And, and then when the big ones come, where there's a legitimate reason, where you see a big mountain, I think just really continuing to, analyze, and how could I get better, and how can I adjust and be flexible and grow. And, the reason the 2008 situation happened, which has never happened again, because I learned from it, over a 2-year period. Before I replaced those individuals in those specific positions, it was 2 years. And I learned that I had a top down philosophy where, it was my way or the highway. There was no collaboration. And that was the reason they left. So God showed me in that period of time where I had to adjust my entire leadership style. And it was my fault, even though they did some bad things and they weren't good people in circumstances. I was the one that was responsible. So I took ownership, learned it, and then adjusted my, my principles in leadership. And so we don't do those things anymore.
I definitely appreciate your transparency, because that allows people to really connect with you. And, I'm sure that people feel like that too. I know I've had several times where I'm just like, do I have to get up today? Do I have to be an adult today? Yeah. I mean, we all go through it. It happens. So thank you so much for your transparency on that. Now, what about for the individual that has allowed fear to hinder their dream?
Yeah. Well, I just got a new tattoo yesterday, faith over fear, right? I wrote a devotion a few months ago. We write for YouVersion, and we've had 700,000 as of this past week people subscribe internationally to our plans. Praise God. And the faith over fear has over 100,000 people subscribe to it. So there's 22 devotions. So if that one is 1/7 of the total of subscribers, that tells you something. People struggle with fear.
Yeah.
And so I want to say, I'll say this. Fear, people, especially believers, we condemn fear, like, get rid of fear, get rid of fear. I would say this: faith and fear are both faith. Okay. Fear is like a faith in what is negatively could happen. And
right.
Faith, what we call faith, is like, okay, this is my faith in God's word or what could possibly, but fear is a version of faith. I have faith that it's not going to work out. I have faith that I'm not going to make it. And so, I get that. And here's the crazy thing: God gets it. That's the thing I think that we need to understand. God gets that, and he's not like rattled by it. He's not like, how can you have, he doesn't condemn us in Timothy when it says, God's not giving you the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. It's not like, hey, God's not giving you, it's like, hey, listen, I get it. I wouldn't even have this verse in here if I didn't get it, right? I haven't given you fear, but I've given you power and love and a sound mind. So it's when that fear comes, we can balance it and get back to, thinking on these things, thinking on what God said and what his word said, because the enemy would like to take that fear, that, that anti-faith, so to speak, and let that narrate our life, which is really, here's the crazy thing. What do we fear? If you fear getting struck by lightning, chances are you won't, right? But I mean, I'm just using one analogy, but if you fear that, that doesn't mean it's going to happen, but yet that could cause you not to ever go outside when it rains, but then on the flip side, we have faith, right? In the substance of things hoped for, evidence of things not seen. We can't see it, but so which are we going to have? And they're both require us to believe in something. Mm-hmm. And so, I would just speak, and just somehow begin to build your faith up. And the way I, do that is when you begin to read like scriptures, and there's plans and things like that actually isolate scriptures about faith. If I'm struggling with it, then I'm going to read God's word specifically on those subjects so that I can just, even if I don't feel it, but just get it in my spirit, because it's alive. And if it's alive, it's not up to me to do anything other than read it and put it in my heart, let God activate it inside me. And I found that over the course of time, that just helps. And, that's how my suggestion.
Well, I definitely love that. And I am going to, I do a lot of the plans on YouVersion. So I'm going to look for that plan. I'm going to do it too. I love it. Thanks again for sharing that. Now, my next question would be, one way you've handled rejection in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. That's probably, I like affirmation. So the opposite, one of the opposite attributes of that or is rejection. I don't like being rejected. I don't think anyone does, but I take it personal, as by nature. So, I think, not taking it personal, trying to not take it personal, realizing that, that a lot of times what we consider rejection, is not, rejection is like, spitting something out or, and getting rid of it, and just completely opposing it. And a lot of times what we experience as rejection just might not be getting our way all the time. So I think also making sure that we really get rid of some of the trim the fat around it so that we can realize what really is rejection and not, because the things that the enemy would like to tell us is rejection, could skew everything else. So once we isolate that, I think then, understand that it's going to happen. Try not to take it personal and realize sometimes it's insecurities of others. But really I think the thing is just understanding, instead of living for the approval of people, live from the approval of God, so, and that's a hard thing to do. And especially in a social world, right? We seek likes and comments. I do, you do, everyone does. And but yet, trying to not live for the approval of people because they're going to let you down, and you're going to experience that living from, the approval of God. He's already approved you. The God of the universe has approved you. And that's pretty cool. God's liked your post, you know what I mean? Like kind of thing. And, so I think that's probably the really kind of paying attention to it, because we're going to get rejected. I mean, Jesus was rejected, right? He was rejected. How did he handle it? And I think that, it had to hurt. It had to bother him. I mean, because he was tempted like we were. So it had to bother him. But, he understood it came with the territory. I think as you become successful, or as you do something that is other people kind of begin to envy or struggle with, like, oh man, jealousy comes in, haters come along with it. I think that's part of the territory. I think people that are successful, I don't mean, making money or anything. I mean, whatever success looks like, you're beginning to just accomplish some of your dreams and things like that. People will hate on it. Unfortunately, even Christians and believers will, sometimes more so. I think that one of the things that people that understand that are experiencing success, one thing they have in common when they reach a certain place, they will understand that is going to be part of the territory, and it kind of bounces off of them, so to speak. They don't take it personal, and that's not internalizing it, not letting it define you, because, whose report are you going to believe? Right. And those are just shot to me. It's not that it's from the devil or the enemy, but it's the way the enemy, uses people, or people, allow themselves to be used to take shots that if we internalize it, it will affect us, and so. That's
okay. That's good. So how about, well, because even in business, people get rejected. And, because like you said, people take it personal. You take it personal. Now you're ready to give up because, someone said no. Someone said your idea is not good enough. And it's just like overcoming that no and just continuing to move forward, not throwing in the towel, and just looking for the next no and the next no, because eventually one of those no's is actually going to be a yes.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I did an exercise with our sales team here at our company a little over a year and a half ago or so, and where I got a board and we printed up these little, we have a sales training platform, so we printed up these little logos that were like bunch of these logos, same logo, but a bunch of them that were our sales platform, so they knew it. And then I wrote the word no all over the board like 100 times, and then put these logos over it with tape. And then I wrote the word yes on. Now I did this because eventually, I did it because I wanted to add a little layer, and I wrote the word yes. It was a flip chart board, and I took the paper behind it, wrote the word yes behind it with a tab so you couldn't see it. Anyway, we went through and had an incentive where if you find the word yes, you get money or whatever. So the moral of the story was, if you go through enough no's, you will get yes. And by the way, that's the only way you're going to get it. So, and that's just it. It's just like failure. You start to view it not personal, you view it as part of the process.
Right.
And, and it's the same thing as haters. It's like all part of the process that as you're going through, you can almost develop like a barrier that allows you to penetrate against the current of haters, the current of failure, the current of no's, which are all going to happen as you're driving, the direction you're going. I mean, it's just the way it is. You know?
Yeah, most definitely. So how do you stay focused on your goal when life throws so many distractions?
I'm probably I would have a tendency, if I let myself, everybody has like their vice or whatever. I would have the tendency to be a workaholic. Like I cut myself off at 6, I go home. I used to work, it almost cost me my family. In the same season in 2008, around that same time frame, those were some issues. I was working until 9:30, 10 o'clock at night and building the business, right? And my kids were small. My kids are adults now, but so, to me, I would be a workaholic if I just let myself go. So it's not hard for me to remain focused on certain things. My struggle are, getting, the nuances inside of those, as a visionary, which is kind of my role now as a CEO, being able to communicate with the team and help them, see certain things, and then, put places of accountability, and measures in place. Those are my challenges now, and that takes focus. And so with me, it has to be deliberate. I have to put things in calendars. I have to, stay on task. I have to allow certain people that work for me in certain positions, to come to me and have permission to intervene. Hey, it's time for this. Let's do this. And I think that's how I focus. I recognize that I'm never going to be really good at it on my own. If I were by myself, I would fall apart in it. And just putting people around me where I'm weak that have strengths, and then giving them the permission to speak into my life. And it took me a while to get that, because you think as a leader, sometimes you think because you're good at one thing or a couple of things, you're really good at, certain things. You have the Midas touch, everything you touch turns to gold, and you don't, you flat out don't. So.
I love it. I really do appreciate your transparency. I love our conversation today. So my last question for you is, why did you decide to be a part of Dream That Big?
Octoria is awesome. You guys your team is awesome. You guys are just amazing people. And I think that the title, and it's not just a title because everything behind it, the title caught my attention, but the everything behind it is for everything I believe in. And it's because I understand what a dream is, and dreams, Joseph was a dreamer, and as a visionary, as somebody who's had more dreams, not be things that God, was ready for me to launch at a certain time, more things fail or more things challenge me. I just want to, I want to help people breathe life into their dreams. I want to help them learn how they can make it a reality, and understanding that, a lot of, especially startups. And there's one thing that, I start all kinds of, I got a couple of companies, but we start divisions inside the company. But I tell people now that starting a division inside of a company that's doing what we do is starting from a position of strength rather than a position of weakness. It's not a brand new company. And I remember, and I don't ever want to go back and pioneer a company from scratch, without having, resources going into it. It was tough. And so I know there's people out there that's such a vulnerable and hard time, and I want to help them. I want to let them know that if there will be a time where they will appreciate what they learned, and it'll make them tough. But this is a process that if you get through it, it'll get easier, it'll get better, it'll get different, and that's just such a tough time. So there's a lot of companies like that I think fail in a very short period of time. Or give up, and I don't think they have to. And so hopefully I can, pour some resources and inspiration into their dreams.
I love it. I definitely think that you've given people some nuggets here in our short talk. So I appreciate your time and your wisdom.
Thank you.
And so thank you again for coming on. And for those of you that are watching or that are going to watch later, are you ready for your breakthrough? If you say yes, if you are ready for your breakthrough in business, register at dreamthatbig.com. We have 3 powerful packages to help you establish, pivot, or rebuild your business. We want you to join the Dream That Big movement. We are going to give out dream grants. So come on, you're going to just have a wealth of knowledge from people like David. So join us. We love to see you. Until next time.